today. It's great to be back in this great metropolis and to reach out to all of the independent media that's not controlled by the state and by the big corporations so that we can speak directly to your many readers, listeners, and subscribers. I think we'll start with the obvious fact that everything right now in Canada, everything is broken. After 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, life costs more, with food prices having gone up 37% faster in Canada than in the United States. A gap that opened and widened as the carbon tax came into force. Who would have guessed? You put a tax on the fuel of the farmers who grow the food and the truckers who ship the food, you tax all who buy the food. Now we have a record-smashing 2 million people lined up at food banks every single month after 9 years of NDP Liberal policies. In fact, 1 in 4 kids are going to school hungry. Some food banks are running out of food altogether. There's a Facebook group called the Dumpster Diving Network. It's a group of people sharing tips on how you can dive into a dumpster and get food out of it. You could imagine, we never thought this would happen in Canada. There have been stories of hospitals that have had, in St. John's, for example, to bring in freezers that they put in their parking lot for dead bodies because family members can't afford to come and take home their dead for a burial or a cremation. They're that poor. These are stories that would have been unthinkable before this NDP Liberal government took office 9 years ago. And now they want to hike the carbon tax further. On April 1st, another carbon tax hike will kick in, and they plan to quadruple the tax to 61 cents a litre by the year 2030, which will devastate our entire economy as truckers and factories and others will simply leave the country to go to the United States of America. Meanwhile, housing costs have doubled. Vancouver and Toronto are now the 2 most expensive housing markets in North America. They've gone up faster in Canada by far than any other G7 country. In fact, we have the fewest homes per capita of any G7 country, even though we have by far the most land to build on. Crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder are overtaking our once tranquil and safe streets. Immigration is totally out of control, with population growth 3 times faster than the growth in the housing stock, with massive rampant fraud in the international student program, in the temporary foreign worker program. Our young people can't find jobs because multinational corporations are bringing in low-wage workers from poor countries in temporary positions at Tim Hortons and elsewhere. All these workers are good people. They're decent, hardworking. They're making great sacrifices, but they are being exploited by the greed of government and corporations combined. Our immigration system was the best in the world before this NDP Liberal government took over. And of course, now in this moment of incredible weakness, President Trump, who built his career in the most cutthroat real estate market in the world, Manhattan, the jungle of New York real estate, he can spot weakness from a mile away. And he looks at Canada under the NDP Liberal government of Trudeau, Freeland, and Carney, and he sees weakness. So what is Trudeau doing now? Well, they're going to change the name of the leader, but they're going to keep everything else the same. They're going to bring in either carbon tax Christia or carbon tax Carney. But both of them are just like Justin. They all supported his carbon taxes. They supported his housing policies, his immigration policies. In fact, carbon tax Carney, the only disagreement he had is he said that carbon tax should go up faster and higher than Trudeau was raising it. And so they will try to trick you, though. They will, right before the election, they'll say, oh, we've changed. We're completely different. Ignore everything we've done for the last 9 years. But of course, they haven't changed. If they were ever given the chance, they would not only do the same destructive woke agenda, but they would do it on steroids. So the answer, my friends, is we have to fire this NDP Liberal government and bring home the country that we knew and love, a country where hard work earns a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food and homes in safe neighborhoods. That was the promise of Canada. When I was a kid growing up to 2 school teachers, they taught me, if you work hard, you can do anything in Canada. And they were right. That was the country my wife came to as a refugee from Venezuela. 6 people in a small basement apartment in East End working class Montreal. Her dad would go out into a farm field and pick fruit so that he could pay the rent. That's how they started, and now they've all been very successful. That's the dream every Canadian should enjoy, and we're going to bring home Canada's promise with a common sense plan to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. We will axe the carbon tax to lower gas, heat, and grocery bills. We will cut income tax so that hard work pays off and you bring home more of each dollar you earn. We'll take the GST off, the federal sales tax off new homes to save you up to $50,000 on your purchase. And I will reverse the capital gains tax increase that Chrystia Freeland brought in her most recent budget so that our small businesses and home builders and other entrepreneurs can grow and hire more people and benefit from the sacrifices that they make. In fact, I'm going to pass a big, beautiful, patriotic tax cut. It's going to be called the Bring It Home tax cut. It will cut taxes on work, investment, making stuff in Canada, home building, and the purpose will be to bring home paychecks and production to this country. We've lost $500 billion of investment from Canada to the U.S. in the last 10 years alone. That means our investment dollars are building American pipelines, American mines, American business centers, American technology. I want to bring that money home for our people, but it means we need to lower taxes and speed up permits, make this the best place on earth to do business. We will stand up to President Trump's threats. We will never be the 51st state. In fact, we will be more independent and sovereign than ever when I rapidly approve energy and resource infrastructure so that we can do more of the value-added jobs here in Canada rather than just giving the Americans our raw material and having them profit off of it. But the only way to do it is to have fast permits, low red tape, and very low taxes. That is the only way you will attract businesses to do the stuff here in Canada and bring home our money and our jobs for our people in this country. We will have homes again. We're going to build more homes. Not only will I take the sales tax off new homes, I will incentivize local governments to speed up permits, free up land, and cut development taxes to build 15% more homes per year. We will cap immigration below the level of home building, so we always build homes faster than we add people. We will stop the crime as well. Our crime is just raging out of control now after 9 years of NDP Liberal catch and release, hug-a-thug policies that allow the same repeat offenders to be released again and again and again and again, often within minutes of their latest arrest. It's crazy. You know, in Vancouver, they had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times. 40 criminals got arrested 6,000 times in 1 year. That's each one of them getting arrested every 2 days. Like, they basically have to be doing crime all day, every day, in order to get arrested that much. Why don't we leave them in jail? It's very simple. If they're in a box, if they're in a cage that's 10 by 20 feet, they can't hit someone over the head with a baseball bat, or stab someone, or rob a bank. It's very simple. But instead, we have this insane catch and release law, C-75. Then we have C-5, that's the house arrest bill. So the car thieves, that's what happens to them. Even if they get caught, and even if they get convicted, they get house arrest so that they can watch Netflix or play Grand Theft Auto in their living room after they stole the 50th car. This is ending. I will bring in the single biggest and most brutal crackdown on crime in Canada's history. We will be ruthless in cracking down on this scourge of crime, and we will put an end to it. These people will be in jail, and the small-time criminals, you know what? They will stop doing crime because they will be terrified of the consequences, because there will be very serious and very ugly consequences for criminals when I'm Prime Minister. We will secure the ports with high-powered scanners to interrupt the stolen cars and drugs and guns that come across. We'll have more frontline CBSA officers, boots on the ground to stop transnational crime, human trafficking, gun smuggling, and we will pay for it by canceling the ridiculous multi-billion-dollar gun grab. They want to take away the property of licensed, law-abiding, trained and tested hunters and sports shooters. We know that the licensed firearms owners are not the problem. Anyone who's going to hand over their licensed firearm to the government is by definition not a criminal. So that's not the guy we need to go after. We need to go after the guns that come in. 82% of guns for crime in Toronto come from smuggling. They're already banned. They're already illegal. We need to ban the criminals. We're going to ban drugs, shut the drug dens, no more of these consumption sites that terrorize and ruin communities. Instead, we'll put the money into treatment and recovery services to bring our loved ones home drug-free. We will end the abuses of our immigration system, including by reducing the numbers, ending the abuses in the temporary foreign worker and international student program that have grown up under the NDP Liberals, and we will keep our nation safe with a stronger military. I intend to cut foreign aid, and I will put that money into rebuilding our armed forces, bring our money home for our soldiers, sailors, and airmen to secure our North American continent. And what I will say to our American friends, we want a secure North America, but we need a strong economy to do it. Drop your tariff threats. Let's deepen our trade ties, and we will use the resulting economic growth to help fund a bigger, more powerful Canadian military that will keep the Russians, the Chinese, and other aggressive players out of our Arctic, that will keep us secure and safe from terrorists and drug runners. This is how we will be strong. We will take back control. Everything is out of control right now, but we are going to take back control of our lives and our country. We're going to bring home Canada's promise and make this the best land of opportunity the world has ever seen. Canada first, Canada first, Canada first. Everything we do will be about making Canada stronger, safer, and richer. We will work with all democratic allies around the world to achieve that. We need a strong professional relationship with all of the democracies of the world. Obviously, that does necessarily include India, which is the biggest, the most populous democracy on planet Earth. As for Mr. Trudeau talking about foreign interference, my answer to him is release the names. He claims that there are MPs that have participated in interference by foreign governments. He says he has intelligence of that. Don't keep it secret. Make it public. Put the names out there. I'm not worried about it. I have nothing to fear of the names being public. I'm confident that I've seen no evidence to suggest that Conservative MPs behaved inappropriately. But if I'm wrong, prove it. Put the names out. You know, it's very interesting. Justin Trudeau goes out and makes allegations against other Canadians, but he says he can't tell you who those other Canadians are, and he can't give you any of the evidence. This is insane. Release the names now. I have nothing to fear, and nor should he, unless, that is, he and the Liberal Party are as compromised.
Mr. Poilievre, Canadians are struggling, and list is very long, starting from crime to inflation to jobs, and very long list. And then came an idea from President-elect Donald Trump that let's merge it, make it a union or North American union. When we talk to the Canadians, doctors, landlords, and many other professionals, they like the idea too. And we are, as a politician, we are just cancelling out the idea, because when we see the American media, they are in the favor and they are saying it will be a big superpower. Donald Trump said the 60% taxes will be reduced, will be cut, and Canadians are suffering with higher taxes, with crime. And we have Honorable MP Larry Brock here. We know that how the prosecutors, the repeat offenders are there in the market. Today also one carjacked happened. So landlords, the professional tenants are looting them. We are not able to change the laws. Whether it was 9 years ago, the Conservative government or a Liberal government, we are into the standstill. So what you will say, the message to those Canadians, those who are in a favor or float an idea to become a NAU, North American Union, so that we have one currency, one law, and become a superpower in the world, because European Union dollar is stronger than US rod. What is your viewpoint on that?
We need to tackle the inflation, the housing, the crime problem with a new government. These are not Canadian problems, these are Liberal problems. Every problem you describe about Canada today is imposed by the Liberal Party of Canada, of Justin Trudeau and carbon tax Carney, carbon tax Christia. They're the ones that cause the misery that you've described. The answer is not to get rid of Canada. The answer is to get rid of the Liberals. Increase will make Canada one of the most highly taxed jurisdictions for investment in all of the developed world. So it's very simple. Capital goes where capital grows. And it can't grow when you've got the highest taxes on investment anywhere. And it's going to kill 400,000 jobs, this tax increase, according to C.D. Howe. That's why I will reverse the tax increase. Your question was about how CRA is enforcing it, even though it never passed Parliament. Yeah, Chrystia Freeland announced it, she introduced it, but it never got voted on. And yet, the tax collectors are implementing it. This is insane. And it should be illegal. The 800-year-old tradition of parliamentary democracy, going back to the Magna Carta of 1215, is that the Crown cannot tax what the people have not voted. It's very simple. No taxation without representation. That was the reason for the American Revolution. The Tea Party in Boston was that the Englishmen who were living in America didn't want to pay a tax that they had not voted for. So that, like, this is hundreds of years of tradition that they're violating by imposing a tax that no one has voted on. It's totally illegal, and it's not the first time. When COVID started, Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau tried to pass a law allowing them to have unfettered ability to raise any tax to any level at any time for any reason without a vote in Parliament, which tells you exactly what their agenda is. They think all your money is their money. That is the hardcore socialist mentality that they have. It is very dangerous. It is destructive to our economy, and it's why so many people are so poor. When I'm Prime Minister, it will end. I will be cutting taxes, massively cutting taxes, and I will be cutting bureaucracy. You mentioned bureaucracy. I will be cutting bureaucracy. We don't need so many costly bureaucrats. We're going to slash the bureaucracy, and we're going to slash the consultants and all the money that's being wasted in this big, fat, morbidly obese government. We're going to lock up the criminals. There will be mandatory prison time. So anyone with a rap sheet, a long rap sheet of crime, will be ineligible for bail, probation, parole, or house arrest. They will go to jail, and they will stay in jail. And I think we need to change parole. Right now, parole, it's an automatic right, basically, isn't it?
It is.
You get convicted, and the judge says, okay, your sentence is 5 years. But 5 years doesn't mean 5 years. It means, what, a year and a half?
Actually, even worse than that. They're eligible after serving 1/6 of a sentence.
1/6. So
1/6.
So
in this case,
10
5
months.
years, 10 months. They're eligible.
and that's basically automatic, isn't it?
It is.
Like, you should have to serve the entire sentence, and maybe we should bring in something where they earn their release through not just by behaving well. Behaving well should be the bare minimum, but by doing exceptionally positive action in prison, like doing a work program or getting a skill set or taking regular drug tests to prove they're no longer addicted to drugs. We can't just let people out automatically on statutory parole, and I will be getting rid of that. The sentences are going to be very long. And if that means more people in jail, then we'll be doing double bunking. There'll be more than one prisoner in each cell. And you know what, though? I don't think there'll be more people in jail, because I think many criminals will be frightened and they will stop doing crime. So that's the approach we're taking. Jail, not bail. Jail, not bail. Appointed government officials to give out all this money, and it was supposed to bring green jobs, green businesses. Well, what happened is the government officials gave money to their own companies. And there were how many conflicts of interest? 160 conflicts of interest or something like that? 186 conflicts of interest in this one program that represented tens of millions of dollars. We've been trying to get the documents, but the government is covering it up. But this is your money. You wonder why your taxes are so high? These people are stealing your money. And when I'm Prime Minister, we're going to pass tougher anti-corruption laws to crack down on this kind of theft. And I will be slashing corporate welfare. We're now giving $40 billion in handouts to mostly large corporations. That's just at the federal level. Why are we giving money to large corporations? Aren't they supposed to make their money by selling products and services to willing customers? I thought that's what it meant to be in business. You guys get any of this $40 billion? It's only well-connected political insiders with lots of money that get the money. So we want to slash this and use the savings to reduce taxes for all people. That way, and businesses. That way businesses keep what they earn rather than taking what you earned. I mean, the last 9 years have been a total disaster. Look around you. Has this been good for immigrants? Look at the immigrant communities, how difficult it is to live. In Brampton, they had found 26 international students living in one basement. Like, it's insane. In Canada, we have the highest level of sustained per capita immigration rates pretty much anywhere in the world for 50 or 60 years, and it was not a problem. Because until basically 2021, 3.5 years ago, for reasons I do not understand, suddenly and inexplicably, we went from growing our population by about 300,000 people a year to 1.2 million people a year, out of nowhere. Like, I don't know how nobody even decided on it, or at least nobody talked about it publicly. Do you remember any decision or debate on this in Parliament? And the result is we have a housing shortage, we have food bank shortages, we have now increasingly job shortages. We need to take back control of our immigration system and bring in people in numbers that we can absorb into our housing market, job market, and healthcare system. So what I will do is create a formula that will cap the population growth below the growth in the number of homes, jobs, and doctors. That way we'll always guarantee that we have the ability to care for the people who do come here. We'll end the fraud and abuse, and we'll also, by the way, there's some great things we're going to do for immigrants. We're going to bring forward a blue seal that will allow provinces to sign on so that immigrant doctors, nurses, engineers, architects can quickly take a test, prove they are qualified, and get licensed to practice in their profession. That will make those immigrants who are here more successful and greater contributors to our country. Phenomenal amount of electricity. So when you do when you do a ChatGPT inquiry, you consume about 10 times more electricity than when you do a Google search, because of the computational energy that is required in order to process answers to these questions and to run large language models. That is why Meta, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon have all decided they're going to either buy or refurbish nuclear plants. So the point is that we have the ability to produce a phenomenal amount of electricity to host data centers That would bring hundreds of billions of dollars of investment to our country. We have clean hydroelectricity. We have the biggest supply of uranium for electrical generation anywhere in the world. We have extremely cheap natural gas. In fact, in Alberta, in some cases, it's almost free because it's a byproduct of oil production. And we could use that to host massive data centers that would bring hundreds of billions of dollars to our economy. So we need to rapidly approve the energy, the mining, the factories, the data centers, so that we can bring that production here to Canada. And that's one of the things that I'm going to say to President Trump. We could be a source of energy for the data-driven economy. Then you won't have to rely on hostile foreign enemies, and you can't produce. The Americans cannot produce enough electricity to do it because they have already 350 million people for whom they need to provide electricity for daily life. It's going to be very difficult for them to build the surplus necessary so we can be the center of data power in the world. We also have to make sure the government doesn't take over AI, because then they will use it for censorship, for control, for manipulation of the public. And I will be standing on guard against government abuses of AI and other similar technology. We saw how governments tried to abuse our civil liberties during COVID, and I would not put it past government officials to try to do the same thing again now that they see AI on the horizon. Are they going to try and take over the mathematics of AI and prevent it from being used by Canadians as citizens and require it be done through the government? I don't know. But if they are, that's a very big risk. So we have to protect our freedom. It could either be an enormous advantage in giving more freedom and more prosperity to our people, or it could be a tool of oppression by government, and we need to make sure that it is the former and not the latter. This actually, she, if you ever go to her Instagram page, she chronicled, I think it was 10 different stories of women who were trafficked. She went and personally interviewed them and shared their stories on her Instagram, and she has been telling me a lot about how it is very hard to get charges, convictions against the human traffickers. And it is extremely pervasive. It is happening all around us. There are women and children who are in captivity in our country who are being sold for sex against their will. This is an appalling scourge. I think we need to give the RCMP more focus on combating this scourge. It is an international crime, which is really the jurisdiction of the RCMP. And we need to bring in much more serious criminal penalties for those who participate. And I think, frankly, anyone who is engaged in human trafficking should be getting a life sentence behind bars, because I think it's as bad as murder, what they're doing. So I want a more robust RCMP team that can identify these crimes, a streamlined approach to get the charges laid, and very long prison sentences for those who the kingpins who are responsible for these human trafficking networks. Thank you.